From boudin to the best burgers Acadiana has to offer, it's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Daku. Here we talk about all the food happenings around Acadiana. If you like food, tune in. You might learn something new. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another hot one out there. I remember complaining about the rain, which it has been raining way too much, but now I'm so over the heat and I can't wait for fall. And I never thought I was going to say that because I was so ready for swimming season and all that fun stuff. But it lasted a month, and now I'm good. I'm ready for that fall weather. Joining us tonight as guest co-host is Mr. Russell Hiltz. He is the owner of Russell's Cajun Barbecue Sauce, and you can find him every Saturday at the Lafayette Farmers Market at Munkus Park at the Horse Farm. We're going to be talking to him a little later in the show about his products that he has, and he is a very interesting guy who is no stranger to radio, and we'll talk to him a little bit more about that later on in the show. I went to Baton Rouge this past Friday, and I fell madly in love with Trader Joe's. I had heard people talk about in the past their love of Trader Joe's, and then I experienced it firsthand, and now I'm a super fan. If you're unfamiliar with what Trader Joe's is, think of it as a cheaper version of Whole Foods. They pretty much make all of their own label products, and it's really affordable things. So the one in Baton Rouge, I was expecting it to be bigger. It's a little bit on the small side, and it's more frozen and perishable items. Like, that's the big majority of the store. So obviously, driving in from Lafayette, I couldn't partake of any of the frozen and perishable items. However, I did rack up on their wonderful wine selection. They have very affordable wines. They have their own label. It's $2.99, and people refer to it as $2 Chuck. I did not partake in any of that. I got a lot of rosés that were under $10, like really good brands of rosés, and really great alcohol selection. Someone was telling me that they make their own version of whiskey. Like, there's a Trader Joe's whiskey, and it's not bad for what it was. I got these cookies that were like cookie butter cookies. So they're shortbread cookies with the Biscoff pureed cookie butter in the middle. So delicious. $3. Wanted to go crazy in the store. I was trying to maintain, but me and a friend from Lafayette were talking about that we're going to go back with ice chests in our car and get some of the frozen and perishable items that they have. And there's people that are in the know about Trader Joe's that go from Lafayette and do that exact thing. So if you happen to be in Baton Rouge, definitely go and check that out. I was in Baton Rouge because I was attending a food innovators conference that was held on Friday at the Louisiana Culinary Institute. Some really great speakers. One of them was the COO of Dat Dog. And the overall theme of the conference was about uplifting and helping your fellow people in the food industry. And by doing that, it would help yourself. So really great speakers. Michael Gulata, who's the owner of Maypop and Mofo in New Orleans, was one of the speakers as well. Great food. Ryan Andre, who's the executive chef of the City Pork Restaurants in Baton Rouge, cooked our dinner that night, and he made a Korean fried chicken, which was delicious. And then I love how he kind of does fusion of Southern Cajun with Asian flavors. And so he did the Korean fried chicken, which was delicious. He did a fried rice, and he also did a kimchi potato salad. And the kimchi potato salad was really good. I would have never expected the flavors that you get from kimchi to work so well in the potato salad, but they did. It worked, and it was delicious. Okay, I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with spaghetti squash. Mr. Russell, are you a spaghetti squash fan?
I sure am, Tiffany.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. Have you had your barbecue sauce on spaghetti squash, and how does it taste?
No, I've had it on yams, and it was really good.
It was really good.
No, I haven't had it on spaghetti squash.
I just kind of was like, I've seen on some barbecue menus, they have like barbecue spaghetti. And so that's just what popped into my head since you use spaghetti squash a lot as a substitute for spaghetti. So anyway, I had gotten a spaghetti squash from Prud'homme with my CSA the last time I went. And I didn't want to do a pasta substitute, which is the obvious thing to do with spaghetti squash. And I'm really trying hard to like spaghetti squash, but I'm kind of just like, with it. But I did find a recipe online. It was for spaghetti squash hash browns. So, in kind of like a mock potato and using the spaghetti squash. It didn't turn out exactly like it was supposed to in the recipe. I again underestimated how much moisture was I didn't get all the water out.
Were you talking about Prud'homme Farms that are at the farmers market?
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah, great people. I could go on about them, but don't get me. They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Love them. And
we've been out to their farm. They're so nice.
Well, yeah, and then so they had like all this spaghetti squash, and I got it, and it's just I'm really trying hard. So if anyone has recipes out there that they want to share with me, please send them my way. I'm just trying to do something more versatile than just pouring marinara sauce over it or pouring Alfredo sauce over it. But I will say that even though the hash browns didn't turn out how they were supposed to, they were still delicious. So you basically bake the spaghetti squash in the oven like you normally would, let it cool, string it out, and then you have to try to get all that water out, which was the hard part for me. I sat there for a good 5 minutes, like squeezing and pressing. It's a good way to get some tension out. But I still didn't get all the water out. And then you put it back in the bowl, and to that you add salt, pepper, garlic powder, and you add an egg that's supposed to act as a binding agent. Well, the thing is that I got a smaller spaghetti squash since it was just me. And I think in the recipe, you're going with the assumption that it's a normal size spaghetti squash. So it was a little too eggy. So I probably should have, instead of doing a whole egg, maybe do half of an egg as the binding agent. And you kind of like mix it all together, and then you put it in a hot greased pan, and I used bacon grease in it. And then again, I have issues with getting my pan hot enough. So it wasn't quite hot enough. And you kind of like cook it, and you keep like stirring it and breaking it apart until it gets crispy, because that's what you're wanting it to be, like the hash browns to be crispy. And you're supposed to serve it with, once you finish, you cover it in cheddar cheese, which what isn't made better by cheddar cheese. And then you serve it with like eggs or bacon or whatever. Well, I had decided like I was just going to eat the spaghetti squash, and then the eggs cooked in the spaghetti squash. So it was almost like an omelet in a way, or like a mock fried rice. We could say it was that, except there was no Asian flavors in it at all. It was covered in cheddar cheese, and it was good. It tasted good. It was my first run with the recipe. Some things that I'll probably change next time, but it was not bad for what it was. So, and it was something different than just using it as
You're
a
making me
pasta.
hungry over here.
Yeah, that's good. That's the goal of the show. Welcome to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show. We try to make you hungry for an hour of time. So hopefully after the show, you're like, man, I really need to go eat something. How do you like to cook or eat your spaghetti squash?
Well, I know we've baked it. We cut it in half and score it, and sometimes sprinkle a little brown sugar and cinnamon.
Ooh, okay, that's something different.
And just bake it in the oven open like that, and it's usually nice and soft, sort of similar to the consistency of a baked potato, maybe.
Okay, well,
really
I may have to try that next time with the brown sugar, putting the sweetness.
Yeah, it's really very simple.
Okay,
very basic.
So normally, when you see people talking about cutting spaghetti squash, they do it lengthwise. Well, I was following a food writer who was saying, no, you should cut it just straight down the middle instead, because it sits up easier, and it's easier to then take your spoon and like scoop out I mean, I don't know if it really made that much of a difference, but it was a smaller one, so it was like easier for me to work with. Still cannot get all the seeds out, though. I consistently was still pulling out seeds like as I was cooking it. But okay, I'm going to have to try it with the brown sugar.
Sure.
I would have never thought to
little cinnamon
like that.
Can't go wrong.
Okay, good. All right, we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, we have more with Mr. Russell. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
And now we talk about food. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku. And really quickly, I want to plug a food event that is coming up on Monday, August 14th at 6 p.m. at Acadiana Food Hub. It's 5 courses for food security, a night of Acadiana cuisine, music, and culture. They're going to have contributing chefs such as Chef Ryan Andre with Dark Roux, Chef Chris Allen of Pamplona, Chef Colin Cormier of Pop's Po' Boys, and Chef Milk of St. Joseph's Diner. They're going to be cooking a super hypersensitive local food as a fundraiser. It's $150 a seat. Proceeds directly support Acadiana Food Hub's mission. Zach McMath, actually, we're going to be talking to him on an upcoming show. I'm actually going to go out to Acadiana Food Hub, and we're going to interview him there, and we're going to interview some people that are using the facility. He came to the Food Innovators event that I was at Friday, and he was talking about how everything on the menu will have to have been sourced within 60 miles, even spices. So it's going to be a super big challenge to the chefs that are going to be preparing this meal. And it'll be kind of interesting to check out. For more information, you can go find Acadiana Food Hub on Facebook, and there'll be links there to be able to purchase tickets. First Sunday show of the month, we always have a vendor from our local farmers market at the Horse Farm. And joining us tonight is Mr. Russell Hiltz with Russell's Cajun barbecue sauce, who is no stranger to radio. So how did you get your start in radio?
Well, thanks for having me on, Tiffany.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way back in the early 70s, I was going to USL, and I took German as a minor to get an easy A because I spoke the language fluently. And the head of the German department says, won't you do the German radio show every week? This is back when KRVS had 10 watts of power. You could hear them on the other side of Johnson Street sometimes. So once a week, I did the German radio show, and I fell in love with Burke Hall and the idea of doing radio, but not necessarily a weekly German broadcast. And for a couple of years was 11 to 1 every Thursday night with a free form playing whatever I wanted to play. And in late 1976, I was offered a job at KTDY Radio when they were in the oil center from midnight to 6 for about a year, and did that in my last part of my undergraduate career at USL.
And radio doesn't just run in the family because it runs in the family because you have 2 sons that had a radio show as well,
yes,
right?
And actually, my father long ago was an engineer in Philadelphia for young Arthur Godfrey's radio show. I hadn't even thought about that. But yes, my sons, Cody and Danny, every Monday night, 11 o'clock on KRVS, have Japan Jukebox. They produced it when they lived here in Lafayette, and they're producing it now living in Tokyo. So yes, and people come up and say, are you the father of the Japan Jukebox kids? I say, yeah.
Yes, I am.
So, yeah.
You said you were also the first DJ in Lafayette to play Elvis Costello.
Yeah, I was the first disc jockey in Lafayette to play Elvis Costello for what that's worth. But that's my claim to fame there.
And you were saying, too, that when you were a disc jockey, it was records. So my question,
right.
My question is, like, what happens if, like, you scratch the record or something happens with the record while it's on air?
Well, it never happened to me. I guess I was very fortunate. We had good quality records. And people were not encouraged to
scratch them.
Scratch them.
That was my first thought. I was like, what happens if it gets scratched?
No, you can usually tell by the first couple of minutes if there's going to be any problem. And usually we wouldn't take off. We'd be around to deal with it if it had happened.
If it happened.
It didn't. No.
So how did you get into barbecue sauce?
Well, in 1974, when I was a sophomore at USL, my roommate, David Lacholet, he said his daddy, Mose Lacholet of Brobridge, was having a cochon de lait at his camp in Henderson. So I went, and his daddy said, look, there's the kitchen, go make the barbecue sauce. And they had a lot of good ingredients, not all of the good ingredients that I have now, but the seed was planted. I made barbecue sauce for his pig roast. It was well received. But during that time, I thought, gee, I can make it better if I had such and such and such and such. And for 14 years, off and on, I worked on the recipe. And by 1988, I had what I was satisfied with. And I would make it in a big ice chest in my kitchen, which isn't legal. I didn't know that at the time. And I sold gallons to 2 barbecue joints, and that was the beginning. I discovered that I had no business making it in an ice chest and selling it. So I went to a commercial packer, and to make a long story shorter, I was with the same packer in San Francisco for 15 years. And I was in 200 stores between Redding and Gilroy in California. And eventually, when I had little kids, I decided to move back to Lafayette. And that was back in 1999. Mm-hmm. They're all grown up long since then. I had a company in Brobridge, All Cajun Foods, make my sauce for 2 years, but they went out of business, and I said, the heck with it. And I didn't think about it for several years. And then my wife one day said, let's resurrect the sauce business. I said, okay, let's do it. So now we've been back in business for quite a while now, and we're in 73 stores, and it keeps us busy.
So what are some of the different flavors that you offer?
Well, it's basically the same sauce with different peppers. So we have 3 different heat levels of what we have available in stores. The yellow label is mild. The red label, it's spicy. It has enough habanero to give it a nice, happy glow. It's not hot. We call it spicy. The purple label, it's called hot, but in reality, to Louisiana taste buds, it's probably just about hot. And only at the farmer's market do we sell one that I make at home. The same sauce, basically, but I use Trinidad scorpion peppers in it.
Ooh.
And it makes me cry. It
makes me cry from you just saying the name.
Oh, I grow them in my garden. They're a beautiful pepper. It's one of my hobbies is to grow hot peppers. My wife has banned me from ever cooking with them in the kitchen.
Right.
I have to do it outside.
I do not blame her.
You can't breathe the air in the house after I've done that.
So we were talking about recipes before the show, and if you had different meat preferences for what to cook them with. You said you've been doing a lot with baby back ribs lately. Well,
during the 14 years I worked on the recipe, one of my goals was to not have any one thing stick out. Too vinegary, too smoky, too sweet. By the way, our sweetness comes from Steen's cane syrup. We are the only barbecue sauce that uses Steen's cane syrup to sweeten their product. I took the high fructose corn syrup out of my stuff long ago. We don't have that anymore. But what was your question, Tiffany?
Different recipes besides like the baby back ribs.
Well, the baby backs, of course. I do it on my smoker for about an hour, and then I wrap it in foil, pop it in the oven at 220 for 2 hours, and it was, this was just a couple of weeks ago I discovered this. It's so far the best way I've ever done ribs. And brisket, I do it in my infrared smoker, bring it out. It will wrap it in foil along with sauce, just like the ribs, and that's wonderful. We used to go and get these rotisserie chickens, and now we do our own. It's better for you. But it's wonderful on chicken. My wife mixes it into our meatloaf, into her baked beans.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have thought about meatloaf, so that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's a wonderful thing to put in your meatloaf. My wife also, she has a little recipe booklet out that we offer our customers at the farmer's market. She has a thing called sloppy Russells.
Okay.
Now, of course, I'm terribly offended that she'd think I'm sloppy. Of course, she knows me too well. But it's pretty much a takeoff on your sloppy joes, but using my barbecue sauce instead of tomato sauce.
Okay.
And it's sort of the adult version of a sloppy joe.
Yeah.
So there's so many things. Anything that you use. At our house, we don't have ketchup out on the table. We have my barbecue sauce on the table.
So you eat it with like French fry, anything fried?
Oh, well, yeah. It's good on fries, of course. It's, what are the uses? Gee, I was at a farmer's market in Sassoon City, California on the Sacramento Delta, and the person next to me had oysters on the half shell. He came over and said, "Can I give you a dozen oysters for a jar of your sauce? I'm going to offer it to my patrons." And people just loved his oysters dipped in my barbecue sauce.
Wait, raw or cooked?
Raw.
Okay.
Oh, sure. I mean, just like you'd put a seafood cocktail with horseradish. You know, when Don's has their special, we go and get dozen after dozen on the half shell with horseradish in the cocktail sauce, and
so he was using it instead of like that horseradish cocktail sauce, using the barbecue sauce.
Right. As his basis for it. Huh. I don't know if he added anything to it, but his customers had the option of using it for that. I tell people it's a steak sauce. Mm-hmm. It's a seafood cocktail. I even, to see if they're listening, I say it's a tropical love oil. And, but it's not really. It's too sticky for that. So
You see a lot of people at the farmer's market. Has anyone come and told you that they did something that you would have never thought to do with your barbecue sauce food?
Yes. Often my wife works the market with me, and so does my oldest son. And someone came and he's a manager we know from a store around here, a big store, and he said that he uses my sauce as a secret ingredient in his gumbo. And we thought, what, in your gumbo? And at any rate, my wife tried that out. She put about a half cup in our gumbo, maybe even more than that, I'm not sure. And you really couldn't tell that my barbecue sauce was in there.
Weird, because I felt like that would make it sweet.
Well,
and that's I guess that's what I'm associating with the oysters too, is like a sweet, because barbecue sauce sometimes has a sweetness.
Well, I get a saltiness out of oysters. I don't get a sweetness. Okay. Well, maybe with the sauce,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
with the sauce, yes. No, I think we got the sweetness balance right on the button with my sauce here. 1/5 of what you see in the bottle is Dean's cane syrup. Any more would be too much. Any less wouldn't be enough. When I lived here long ago, I was not, in the 70s and went to school here, I was not impressed with the kind that are mainly onion, mustard, grease on a tomato base, mm-hmm. which are very popular, but it's not really my cup of sauce, if you will. And this is more, I guess you'd say this is the Kansas City style. However, there's many barbecue sauces similar to mine made in South Louisiana, all of which, by the way, are full of high fructose corn syrup, except mine.
All right, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, we have more with Mr. Russell. So come back to us. It is the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
She puts the wow, yum into words. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie herself on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and we've been talking with Mr. Russell Hilt. He is the owner of Russell's Cajun Barbecue Sauce. He is tonight's guest co-host, and you can find him every Saturday at the Lafayette Farmers Market at Munkus Park. We learned in the last segment that the barbecue sauce can be used in gumbo. It has been used as an alternative to cocktail sauce on raw oysters and a tropical love oil.
Right.
So you're not originally from Lafayette. You're from California, but your mom is from here.
Right. She was a Bobino from Sicilia, and my dad was the Canadian, and they met. My mom and her sister were among the first WACs in World War II, women do enlist, after Pearl Harbor, as my dad did. And they met, and in 1944 they got married. And then living in San Francisco, then I was born in, later on. And then the Army gobbled me up in the late 60s, and in the early 70s, shortly after coming back from the war, I hitchhiked around America, mainly to visit my old Army buddies. I'd never been to the middle of America, never been to the southern states. And I stopped to visit my buddy, my Vietnam buddy here in Lafayette. I spent a few days and fell in love with the place. I knew I had to live here. And a couple of years later, I moved here by Amtrak and worked like a fool and then realized I should go back to college and take the GI Bill. And I did. Glad I did.
And you're a psychology major, and you worked
Yes.
in the psychology realm for a while.
Yes. I was a marriage, family, and child counselor for about a year and a half and then worked with a severely mentally ill adult population for many years also.
And you said you actually enjoyed that more because you said you did marriage and family, didn't really like it, and you liked that world
Well,
better.
yeah, I won't go into the reasons. I got a little
Right.
burnout on doing the marriage and family and child thing, but I found my niche working with the population I did work with, and that was very gratifying. But at that time, I started working on the barbecue sauce and developed a new love.
And that's where your passion went.
Yeah, that's where my passion went, to the barbecue sauce. And at one time, I was in over 200 Northern California stores, from Redding to Gilroy and up and down the coast and all over San Francisco and San Jose. And things happened. We moved to Phoenix. I took a job as a sales manager of an upscale cigar import company, and that lasted about a year, and I felt very homesick for Louisiana. So we up and moved here by U-Haul, 1999, and have stayed ever since. Shortly after getting here, we started having the sauce made in Breaux Bridge, but that company went out of business after a couple of years.
So besides the farmer's market every Saturday, what local stores can you get
What
your-
local stores? We're in a lot of stores. We're in stores in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. We're in the Johnson Street Albertsons, the Kali Saloom Albertsons, the Broussard Albertsons. We're in, we sell a lot of sauce at the Fresh Pickens. And speaking of vegetable markets, the Kevin Guidry up on Ma Street vegetable market sells our sauce. Brosmart up Ma Street, Little Veron's, Hilo's down on Vero School Road, Adrian's over on Congress, many of the meat markets, Don's, Early's and Scott. I could just go on and on. We're in a lot of stores.
most of the stores.
Well, we're not in Rouse's. People say, "Are you in Rouse's?" And I just haven't had the time to make that happen so far.
With being a small, locally owned business, there's a lot of self-promotion that goes into that. And you said that you spend a lot of time during the week, too, doing demos at different places.
Oh, absolutely. I try to 2 or 3 days a week do store demos with my little 4-foot table, a skillet with extension cord. We roast a pork loin, chop it into little cubes, and serve it with a toothpick with the sauce warmed up. The whole store takes on the aroma of the sauce, and people come and try it. It's easy to get into the store, to get on the shelf, but it's a good idea to move your product, and people are not going to buy it when they can get a jar of some nationally made sauce for 99 cents. We use Steen's cane syrup. We buy 255-gallon drums at a pop to make 3 pallets of barbecue sauce. That by far is the most expensive ingredient we use, and that's why other barbecue sauces do not use it. They would rather use high fructose and make the product for a lot less than we do, to tell you the truth. But we stay competitive. The stores are happy to buy it, and so far, so are the people.
And you guys also compete in a lot of fairs. So what have been some that you've won? And...
Well, it's been a while since we've gotten in a contest. But, for example, at the Calistoga Barbecue July 4th contest, we won both the People's Choice and the Chef's Choice Award. We've won blue ribbons on the state, county, and parish level. But mainly we run around doing demos, the demos I was talking about. We do them in the stores in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and little stores going down Highway 90, the towns around there. So that keeps us pretty busy. Yes, we do. We did the Big Slidell Barbecue Festival a couple of years ago, and saw Myron Mixon of the Food Channel getting his makeup put on. He's the godfather of Guru on the Food Channel. We met 60 big barbecue teams with their RVs and their barbecue setups, and they take great pride in their secret recipes. Well, in the course of the weekend, 4 of the pit masters very surreptitiously, discreetly sidled up to our table and quickly bought a jar of sauce. So I thought that was sort of a good sign. I hear a lot of people say, well, I make my own barbecue sauce. And I always say, well, I'm sure yours is better, but humor me and try it out. And 9 out of 10 times they buy the product.
Well, you were saying, was that in California, that there was some barbecue joints that were passing your barbecue sauce as their homemade sauce?
When I finally perfected the recipe in 1988, there were 2 barbecue joints that bought my sauce and by the gallon. And I didn't put a label. I didn't have a label to put on it. So I just sold it to them, and it turns out they were pushing it as their own, letting people think it was theirs. I didn't care. At the time, I really didn't care. I sent off to the state for regulations on how to make food and realized, oh, my goodness, I'm doing everything wrong. I can't do it in my kitchen. There's no way I can make this kitchen suitable to do this. So I went to a packer, and I was with them for about 15 years, and they did a wonderful job making my sauce. I'd come pick it up and then deliver it to every store, well, many stores, every neighborhood in San Francisco across the Golden Gate Bridge, and deliver it to stores in Tiburon and Sausalito and Mill Valley, stuff like that, in Oakland, Berkeley, everywhere. So it kept us real busy and made a living for me and my little expanding family at the time.
You were talking about when you were doing the fairs that when you were entering competition-wise, you learned quickly. Presentation was very important. What categories were more important than others? Yeah,
the presentation. For the very first time I entered my barbecued meat in a competition, I didn't know about presentation, and I realized, whoa, I took the second place. I said, never again. So from then on, I'd put on the little garnish or whatever to make it look pretty, look fancier. You know, we do the Boudin Festival every April. We've done that for 5 years now. We're looking forward to October to the Giant Omelet Festival down in Abbeville. We always do that. We love to do that. And then in November, we do the big Christmas craft fair at Broadmoor High School in Baton Rouge. So we're the active seniors. Yes.
You'll stay busy. And y'all have a new little mascot.
Oh, yeah. We have a brand new little dog. Oh, I wanted to say that we have new labels. I won't get into why, but we have new labels. And I had my friend who is known for his murals, Mr. Robert Dafford, do me on the labels. I said, Robert, 2 things. I don't want to scare children, and I don't want to get women too excited. And so far, his picture of me on the label has done the trick.
All right, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, we have more with Mr. Russell. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Every Sunday night.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and joining us tonight as guest co-host has been Mr. Russell Hiltz. He's the owner of Russell's Cajun Barbecue Sauce. Now, we did get an email during the commercial break from a listener who was asking what the name of the sauce is, but the name of the sauce is Russell's Cajun Barbecue Sauce. Explain the name.
Well, I named it after one of my favorite people, me. Recently, we, like I may have mentioned, we had Robert Dafford redo our label for us, which I'm very proud of. So none genuine without this handsome guy looking at you from the label.
So that's it. Russell's Cajun Barbecue Sauce.
That's right. Yellow label is mild. Red label is got some spice. Purple label is kind of hot.
So we should also mention that you do some food items with the barbecue sauce at the farmer's market.
Oh, yes, actually we do.
Okay.
You come hungry, please. We have a wonderful pulled pork sandwich. We have a dog we call the Grateful Dog. We have a taco like you can't get at most of your drive-ins called the Carnitas Nopalitos taco. And we have the Russell's Mega Burger. And we have a seasonal barbecue sauce the Ruston Peach people are there every other week.
Oh, yeah.
It turns out they're at the Ruston Farmers Market on the alternative weeks. And I always buy a case, and we make a special seasonal must-stay refrigerated Ruston Peach barbecue sauce. So every pint of my sauce has a whole Ruston Peach in it. We leave a little bit of texture, but the peach adds a dimension that it's one of the few things you can add to my sauce to actually make it better.
That actually sounds really good.
Yeah, we sell it on ice at the farmers market, along with our regular sauces.
Any particular meat that would work better with than another, or just any of them?
Absolutely. Well,
like I wouldn't put that one on oysters.
No. Your normal ribs, brisket, chicken, anything you use the regular barbecue sauce.
I think that one would be really good with baby back ribs.
Oh,
Speaking of baby back ribs,
we have some friends who they're friends now. They bought our barbecue sauce at the Boudin Festival several years ago, and they live in Molokai, Hawaii. And they've been buying a case roughly every 2 months.
Wow.
We send them. We're able to do that using the post office flat rate boxes. And, they said, "Oh, please send us some peach barbecue sauce." And I said, "No, you have to keep this stuff refrigerated."
Yeah.
And I said, "Look, you can use peaches, you can use blueberries. I bet you that would be good.
Blueberries would be good too.
And another one I want to try out is mixing some, pureeing some mango and mixing it with my sauce. I bet that would be really good.
That would be good. That sounds.
So there's so many things you can do with it.
Okay, I need to ask, what are the components of the Grateful Dog that y'all sell?
Well, okay, we use a nice Polish sausage hot dog, a juicy, big, fat Polish sausage hot dog. A pretty decent gourmet bun with sesame seeds, and you can have it with beanless chili and cheese. You can have it with mustard and relish and onions and pieces of tomato, and at no extra charge, because we're crazy, we will put pulled pork on top of all of that, and then you better take a knife and fork.
Nice.
And you get lots of everything. My wife used to say, "You're giving them too much meat." And I told her, I think like a consumer, I want good food, lots of it, and a reasonable price.
There you go. That's it.
I'm a happy couillon when you give me that.
That's everything. What is the appeal of the farmers market to you?
Wow. Well, one thing, all the vendors are my friends. It's a nice community of friends among the vendors. Seeing them every week is its own reward. Like you mentioned, the Prudhomme Farms, the Daigle family, Ted, Molly, Maxwell, Gabriel, John, Thomas, Sam.
The whole crowd.
And the three little ones.
Yeah,
all
amazing.
Nice people that work there. And the people that come, they bring their dogs. You can see beautiful dogs and nice people. I can count on so many friends and people I haven't seen in a while coming by. It's work. It's work setting up the tent and the tables and everything, and then breaking them down. And we look forward to having a pavilion someday, so we're not at the mercy of the weather.
Yeah, because this heat is something else.
This Saturday, it was hot, but everyone did well. The previous Saturday, it was hot, and it rained.
Oh.
And it doesn't help the farmer's market when that happens.
Yeah, I think I went 2 weeks before that, and I was only there for 15 minutes, and it was incredibly hot, and I couldn't even imagine y'all being out there for so long.
Those that come, I have two fans blowing me a good breeze. So many of the vendors wise up and bring their own fans because there is electricity. And this last Saturday, this elderly World War II veteran wearing his hat was standing there, just standing and saying, "I need to sit down." I said, "Here, come on, sit down, get some fan." And for 2 hours, this old World War II bombardier was in my booth, drinking cold water and waiting to buy some peaches. So it's just a nice event. People get together. I have a little 5-piece combo that plays the clubs. My drummer came by and sat down and cooled off. So the farmers market's a wonderful place. If you ever wonder what happened to the old hippies, they are working the farmers markets.
That's Good to know. We were talking about Mexican restaurants before the show, and you were telling me what you judge a Mexican restaurant on.
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I check out is the salsa. And if the salsa is kind of bland, which it often is, I'll say, do you have hot sauce? There are two really well-established old Mexican restaurants that when I asked them that, they brought me Tabasco. And Tabasco is great. We used to carry it in our packs in the jungle in Vietnam to give the sea ration some flavor. But don't give me Tabasco for a Mexican hot sauce.
Right.
Our favorite, you're in my favorite Mexican restaurant, when they give you the salsa, you can ask for the red and the green, which is hot stuff, and it gives it some personality. So I check it out by that, and also, of course, by the compare their chimichangas and the fajitas and see which is the best. But the salsa is always a dead giveaway of the restaurant.
What Mexican restaurant has your favorite salsa?
Oh, you had to ask. Okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to be politically correct and not put out any names, but La Pagua is my very favorite.
They have your favorite salsa?
Yes, they do.
See, I feel like most Mexican restaurants have mild salsa because that's the majority of what the palate would want, because otherwise they'd be like, oh, it's too hot.
Well, a lot of people like hot stuff, and
I do not, so I would be in the mild camp.
Oh, by the way, for what it's worth, your congressman here, Congressman Higgins, endorses my sauce.
Okay.
I will say no more, but Clay likes my sauce.
He is a fan.
Yes. We'll just leave it at that.
All right, we have about 4 minutes left. What would be your death row meal? That's something that we normally ask everyone that comes on the show.
Gee.
Your last meal on earth, what would you want it to be?
Well, I'd like it to be some of that really well-cooked, smoked Texas brisket. That would be good.
Which I think is very fitting since you make barbecue sauce.
Yes, and brisket done well with my barbecue sauce is heaven on earth. When I was making the barbecue sauce, I kept thinking, what'll be good on baby back ribs? And my sauce is just so good on that. It just transports you to other culinary realms. It's so good.
And I wanted to mention too, we were talking about one of your sons is a sushi chef in Tokyo.
Oh, yes.
And he makes a teriyaki sauce using your barbecue sauce.
He made it for us here.
Okay.
He made it for us here. Yeah, he used my barbecue sauce and his homemade teriyaki sauce, which is even better than mine. He's left me in the dust as far as being a good cook. I'd say that maybe the basic of what he does is based on him watching me and mimicking that, but he has left me in the dust. And he uses his teriyaki sauce with my sauce to make an Asian type of marinade and sauce. He's amazing. He graduated the top of his class at the Tokyo Sushi Academy. Of all things.
Of all places to learn to make sushi, I think that's a good place to go.
If you can do it there, you can do it anywhere.
Right. All right, we got about 2.5 minutes left. So if people have been listening to the show and are still not convinced to go out and buy Russell's Cajun barbecue sauce, what would you leave them with to convince them?
Well, I guess part of my spiel of if you walk by my booth during a demo, I say it's the only barbecue sauce that uses Louisiana cane syrup. That's what makes it so good. Having no high fructose is important to those who are aware of nutrition and what they shouldn't have in their diet. And just try it on some pulled pork. Try it on whatever. We at the farmer's market, you can have a bite of pulled pork with it, with the sauce, or a chip. Just dip a chip. Most people just dip a chip and determine what they like most by that. And they'll start with the mild, then they'll try the spicy, then they'll try the hot. And the one we make only for the farmer's market that we don't sell in stores is called the brutal. That's the one with scorpion pepper that just hurts me and makes me cry.
Right. That's the one I definitely do not want to try.
Oh, maybe I don't. Yeah, Tiffany, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, no.
But I'm going to leave you with this jar of regular spicy, and I bet you're going to like it.
I know. I'm excited. We were talking that I think I want to do chicken wings with it, and you said you've done chicken wings with it before.
Yeah, to make it more traditional, we add a little butter and vinegar to make it a little bit more like your buffalo wing sauce.
Yeah.
Because it's traditional, but it's okay just as it is too.
Well, good deal. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Mr. Russell. It has been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. It's been a lot of fun being on your show.
All right, and you can go and check him out. He is at the Lafayette Farmers Market at Munkus Park every Saturday. So you can go check him out over there.
Or any of the stores that carry us, too.
We'll say most of the stores, not Rouse's.
No, we're not. There's a lot of stores that we're not at, but come see us at the farmers market. Come hungry.
Yeah. All right, that's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join us next week, Sunday at 6 p.m. This is Tiffany Deku on News Talk 96.5 KPEL, and this is the Lafayette Food Junkie Show. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy eating, Acadiana.